listen to what I said, which is to watch my step amid all of this candy that is here. So I have a story that takes place in a shtetl in Russia, maybe one similar to where my great-great-grandparents lived. And there was a man by the name of Reuven. And Reuven went to the big city to do some, transactions, to do some business. And on his way back to his little teeny village, he got a little lost. He's like, I think there's a shortcut. So he started to go through what would be a shortcut and found himself completely lost and found that the sun was coming down, and what was he going to do? And all of a sudden, he heard music. He heard people singing, and there was clearly some sort of campfire all the way in the distance, and he could barely hear it, but the music was so beautiful, and it sounded like this. I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di, di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di, di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di-di, di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di, di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di. So Reuven very quietly got closer to the campfire, and he could see them, but they couldn't see him, which was a good thing because they were bandits. And he did not want to be caught by the bandits, so he was very, very quiet, but the music was so beautiful. He couldn't believe how amazing this music was, so he hid himself the best that he could and listened to them sing more and more as it got more and more raucous. I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di-di, di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di, I di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di, I di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di. And he watched very carefully. And they soon, because, they were drinking and stuff, they soon fell asleep, and he waited until the false dawn that happens before the real dawn, and he figured out where he was, and he started walking home. And soon enough, he was at his village, and his best friend, Shimon, met him at the gate of the village. And Shimon is like, Reuven, where were you? We were so worried you didn't come home last night. We were expecting you last night. What happened? You have to tell me everything. And Reuven opened his mouth and answered Shimon with, I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di, di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di, di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di, di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I di-di-di-di-di, di-di-di-di-di, I diddy-di, diddy-di. Shimon grabbed his friend Reuven and is like, Reuven, what is wrong with you? And Reuven just kind of shook his head, and he's like, you've got to tell your wife Rachel. Rachel really needs to see you. She's been so worried. And the kids, they've been so worried. So Reuven goes home. He gets home. His wife Rachel meets him. His kids meet him. And she's like, where have you been? I was so worried there could have been bandits. You could have not come home at all. Where have you been? What's been going on? And Reuven opened his mouth and I diddy-di, diddy-di, di-di, di-di, di, I diddy-di, diddy-di, I did it, I did it, I died, I died, I died. I did it, I did it, I. I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. And Rachel's like, what is wrong with you? I've been married to you all these years, and this is the answer that you've given. I was so worried. You've got to give me a better answer. And he just shook his head. And Rachel wasn't sure what to do, so she's like, you have got to see the rabbi. So she dragged him to the rabbi, and I think you know what Reuben said to the rabbi. And the rabbi said, I don't know. I think this is a job for the cantor. So they dragged Reuben to the cantor, and the cantor said, no, what's going on with you? And Reuben opened his mouth and I did it, I did it, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. I did it, I did it, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. Well, this time the cantor was, there's our cantor.
Okay. What does the cantor do? What does the cantor do?
The cantor sings along with him, and the entire town by this time has surrounded them, and the entire town is kind of singing along with him too, just like all of you were singing along with me, and it sounded like, I did it, 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 I died, I died, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I died, I died, I died, I did it, I did it, I. And Reuben said, oh my goodness, thank you. And he wiped his forehead and he was like, I wanted to remember that tune. And I knew that I wasn't going to remember that tune until other people remembered the tune as well. And now all of you know the tune, and the cantor knows the tune, and I will not lose that tune, but I needed to remember the tune, and I needed to share it with all of you, because to me, it was the most beautiful music that I've seen, and you heard, and you're not going to believe what happened when I was coming home, and I will tell you all about it. Thank you, Cantor.
Thank you, Rabbi.
So, what's up with that? Why a story about a song? Because Shavuot is the time of Matan Torah, the giving of Torah. And that means the giving of Torah to the Jewish people by God, standing at Mount Sinai and receiving revelation. But Matan Torah also means the Torah that we give each other. There's a reason why in the V'ahavta, the prayer that we say after the Shema, it talks about teaching our children. And the verb that it uses for teaching our children is the verb for repeating things over and over and over again. There's a reason why we read the same stories and work our way through the Torah every year. Each week we have the same set of parts of the Torah that we read. And we go through it year after year after year because the Torah is the same every year, but we are different. And when we step into it, we are not the same. We are different people. And part of that is the repetition. Part of that is sharing with other people. Part of it is sharing our stories, sharing our music, sharing our best thoughts about Torah. So yes, Matan Zman Matan Torah, the time of giving of Torah. Yes, God gave us Torah at Mount Sinai. But we give and share Torah with each other.